right, we got a lot to get into talking about Saturn going direct, Mercury going direct. Venus is now in Scorpio. No, no, no. Venus just got into, yeah, Venus got into Scorpio. Um, the sun just entered or is about to enter the second decan of Sagittarius. So, let's just dive right in, right? So, with Sagittarius season, as y'all can pretty much tell, as y'all, I said this too in the beginning. I let y'all know I was like, this ain't gonna be your typical Sag vibe. This gonna be a little different, you know. But everything is still in the same, everything is in some way, shape, form, or fashion working in your favor. You just gotta kind of understand that the discomfort you feel is it's all about the perspective you take on it. You know what I'm saying? You could look at all of the disruptions and the difficulties you're going through at the moment. You can look at those as things that are uh you can get upset about the inconveniences. You can start to feel discouraged about your path and things like that. Or you could just simply understand that all of these things are, it's like trials. They have to take, you have to go through these trials in order to be prepared to even handle the thing that you say, claim, that you want. You know what I'm saying? I know we probably tired of hearing shit like that, but that's just the honest truth. It's like life is not, life is not particularly just something that, it's like you have to be able to take the good with the bad. So if you are trying to get to a place in which you that you want to go, you have to do the things that you might not want to do in the moment. You know what I'm saying? But it all balances out in some way, shape, form, or fashion because what you put in is ultimately what you get out. You just have to trust that what you're doing. See, the more and more you can, this is why knowing yourself is so important because the more you know yourself, the more you start to have to develop that sense of trust that whatever you're doing, whether it's, because you're gonna go through different phases. So if it's a difficult phase you're going through through in the moment, you have to figure out some way to cultivate that trust that hey, it's difficult now, but it's difficult now because I'm making sure it won't be difficult for me later. And again, another challenge will crop up, but it'll be a different challenge. And when you address the things in the present properly and appropriately, when the next thing comes up, you're prepared in ways that if you had avoided it in the first place, you wouldn't be prepared for in that moment, if you get what I'm trying to say. So, one thing like basically off the rip, this sad season is expanding you, it's stretching everybody. So you have to be willing to be, to allow life to kind of broaden. You have to be broadened by life. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you have to allow the challenges you're going through. And see, again, I've been saying this in my other channel, Dave Beyond TV, the main channel. Um, I've been saying this. It's like, you have to be willing. When it comes to the challenges you go through life, those are the gems. Those are where the gems are at. You know what I'm saying? You have to understand that your challenges, because being that you are an individual, so the things that you go through that are for you, and to ensure that what you're going through is for you, you have to, that's where knowing yourself comes in. Knowing yourself, being committed to your path, right? Wherever you are, that is your path. You might feel like, man, I'm not on my grind right now. I'm not locked in. I need to get on my grind. Low. Wherever you at is exactly where you're supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? People be trying to look and find a path when they're standing in it. You can't, it's not going to be something that just, it's not like a video game where everything is highlighted like, hey, this is your path and just walk around this corner and the events will start playing. No, it's like wherever you at is where your path is. And so that again, we have to remind ourselves that we have the power. It's just a matter of where you choose to take that step. A lot of people are too afraid to take a step because they're afraid of being wrong, because they're afraid of being proved wrong, or they want somebody to just tell them that they on the right path, to throw a thumbs up, and that they can lean back for the first time and be like, okay, I'm on my path and get that reassurance. But life's not gonna give you reassurance with you just laying on your ass or just sitting on your ass. Like you only get reassurance through movement, through trial and error. And even if things are not working now, you have to tighten up. You got to get strong with yourself and be willing to still go ahead and experiment different things. You know what I'm saying? Don't be afraid of being wrong. This shit is an experiment, a spiritual experiment. That's it. That's life experiences. They're supposed to be experiments. So you're supposed to take chances. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to take unwise chances. You don't have to take foolish chances, but you're supposed to get out there and try things and see what works and don't take it so personally. Take it on the chin, charge it to the game. That's life. Sometimes you're gonna make the right move and it's gonna show you like, oh, okay, boom. Sometimes you're gonna make a move that wasn't so correct for you. All you got to do is adjust. You know what I'm saying? Of course, there are certain situations in which some choices lead to bigger issues and stuff like that, but you have to trust yourself that you're able to handle those things. And again, those things are extreme cases, but again, scared money don't make no money. You can't get nowhere if you're too afraid to take a step. You feel? Anyway, what up, what up, what up? It's your boy Dave B. Watching Beyond Astrology, where we go beyond that everyday cookie cutter astrology that most people be talking and kicking on the internet. But I'm here to provide a better insight on what's going on in the spiritual realm. We're gonna talk about this astrology right now. And yeah, man, so a lot of things going on. So all of that aside, well, I mean that applies, right? But let's put that aside for a second and let's break down what these energy influences is basically saying to us at the current moment in time. So we already know we got Saturn going direct. So Saturn going direct, it's a transit that if you've been doing what you're supposed to do, you're very excited about, right? Or you should start to understand, you should start to feel kind of like the universe supporting you with a little bit more of a clear understanding of not only your current challenges and maybe possible ways to work around them, but it's also showing you a reflection of the work that you've been doing, that you've been putting in. So if you've been doing what you're supposed to do, you should have something to show for it, as far as like it might not be nothing physical, but it might just be a mind state or a certain understanding when it comes to what you believe about the thing that you're trying to build in your life at the current moment in time. Saturn is the planet of restrictions and boundaries. However, I look at Saturn like stepping stones, where it presents you a challenge, but not to stop you, but to build you. So you have to approach Saturn's challenges as something to build you, to prepare you and give you structure, give you a sense of duty and responsibility. And if you take care of those responsibilities will take care of you. So in the area of Pisces, this is finally the Saturn return of Pisces. All the Pisces Saturns, this is us finally getting into that last step of that transit until it's now no longer our problem, it's Aries' problem. So that next generation, y'all got it. Y'all got it. Y'all got it. Y'all just entering y'all Saturn return. So for, you know, and we'll get into that as Saturn moves into Aries. But for the most part, we got a little bit of a teaser, right? But we had one more checkpoint to go through before we could fully pass, and that checkpoint was kind of just going back with us. This Saturn retrograde that we just got out of, it was really just chin checking you real quick and just kind of putting certain things on your plate that you might not have considered. Because again, when we in that dream, you got to understand all of these different energies work in tandem. These are different aspects of yourself. So there's a part of you that wants to dream a limitless dream, but then there's a part of you that has to put things into categories and organize it, structure it to make it make sense in reality. And if you can't figure out a way to make those two energies align, then this is where you can kind of go into, you can stumble and fall in life and not really have a way to convert your dreams into something realistic or things like. And your Saturn return is always pretty much pressing you with the reality of your situation. It's always, when you're going through your Saturn return, um, it's not just about an age thing. It's about you start to understand different situations in your life and kind of how everything is structured against each. Because when you think about structure, systems, systems are so important. I talk about systems on my other channel too, because in that channel I'm referring it to business, but systems are basically how you run your whole life, and they go back to Saturn, understanding how Saturn moves. When you don't have proper systems, your life is much it's much more of a possibility for you to have a life that kind of gets out of your hands because it's almost like every time something crops up, you have to figure out a new way to handle the situation. When you develop systems in your life, and what I mean by systems, I really mean what's the best way? Like a person who has a life that is under control is a person who understands like, okay, if I want to experience a certain lifestyle, I have to create a system that supports that lifestyle. I wish I had a better way to explain this, but this is the best one I could come up with at the moment, right? System support lifestyle. That could be down to think of all the things that Capricorn encapsulates, right? Having a good job or a job that can afford your living situation, right? And a job is really less about the job itself, but it's about what resources you could gather from the things that you do that you might consider your business. So that could be your actual business, or that could just be that resources could be the individuals that you're around, the situation that you in, right? And depending on what situation you in and how it's ran and the cycle of resources that come your way through doing what you're supposed to do, right? Then it's a matter of okay, taking those resources and how easily can you spread those resources to pay your bills, to take care of your responsibilities, right? To get you access to the things that you need on a day-to-day basis. All of these different things determine your lifestyle. That's why like again, quality of life. You could say that, I get it. Like, especially on the spiritual tip, right? You might want to feel like, oh, well, fuck this money and fuck this system. You might want to be like, nah, I don't need that. I'll just go ahead and meditate in the woods. But you got to understand that, like, as much as you want to fight that system, that idea of that system, you might be against capitalism. You might be like, oh, yeah, that's not a healthy system to live in. Regardless of how you feel about the current way that society is ran, you still got to pay your bills. You still got rent to pay. Now, you can create situations in which you don't have to do these things. You can live off grid. You could find you could build different communities and alternatives. But a lot of times people don't have the discipline or the focus to actually commit and devote their life to doing that. And so you get a bunch of half-baked ideas that lead people into very complicated situations where, again, they end up being homeless or in very compromising situations in which they can't support themselves. And then that's where you start to look at a person like, damn, your Saturn is fucked up. You can't support yourself. You can't stand on your 2 feet because your knees is not strong enough, right? Metaphorically speaking. So it's like you have to understand, like when it comes to Saturn is about structure. Anything is possible, but Saturn going as big as you dream. Saturn always going challenge you to create the structure to support whatever that big ass dream is. So you again, especially the Saturn and Pisces folks. A lot of the Saturn and Pisces folks, these are millennials. Late millennials, y'all know we went through a certain in early honestly, millennials, I think in general, for the most part, a good part of them I gotta look into this to see how the span of Saturn, because I think Saturn only really like 2.5-ish years. So, in the millennial generation, that's larger than just that. I think it's like a span of 10 years when we talk about generationally. But this portion, the later millennials, the ones with the Saturn and Pisces, again, that was our biggest thing. We was in a certain we grew up at a time where the world was working a certain way. By the time we got of age to actually start making moves in the world, things had already shifted so dramatically that a lot of us had these dreams that basically crumbled, like tower moments, basically. You thought the world was a certain way, so you did all the things your parents might have said to do to line you up to be able to participate in society. And right when it was time, things completely were obliterated. You know what I'm saying? And again, I'm speaking from my perspective, but I know even generations before or after, because again, there was a whole generation that their whole high school or college experience was diminished or demolished by COVID and things like that. But at that time, again, they were still in that age group where they weren't necessarily most weren't put in a position where they had to start to make moves in the world. Like some people are young, like some people have to grow up real fast and real young, but most people might not have been in a situation where they really had to make moves in the world. They were just getting started. So it's like you still had enough time to recover. Us individuals in our 30s, we like kind of had things was falling in the time we were supposed to be able to get those jobs that to create the stability early enough to start our lives, you know what I'm saying? But now it's like, damn, you can't even get a crib. Okay, no, like you can't even, ain't enough jobs now, or the jobs that are available ain't really paying. Like the price of living so damn high. It's like certain complications was happening at the time in which we were supposed to be getting on our feet. So it feel a little bit like the Pisces and Saturn generation might, or age group might feel a little delayed in certain things, almost like that Pisces effect of, trying to grow up, but it's like, damn, I don't feel like I'm growing up. Like you feel grown because you got grown responsibilities, but your stability might not be on that grown level, right? Saturn and Aries, y'all still in that age where it's like you got that grace of trying to figure it out. And a lot of y'all responsibilities, Saturn and Aries, y'all gonna have to come up with new ways, but y'all can already see that as a result of what y'all been experiencing the last couple years. Y'all know, and again, the little bit of taste that Saturn and Aries gave you should have already sparked different ideas to make you go, oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to fight for some shit, So y'all really gonna have the responsibility of fighting for that stability, fighting for that, you know, that structure, something that makes sense to y'all in y'all way, in your own way. So, and then the Saturn and Taurus generation, y'all gonna get the somewhat of the benefit of being able to structure and make sense out of certain things that was already kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? Y'all, if you got Saturn and Taurus, I ain't gonna lie, you watching this, you have a prime opportunity to truly, honestly, Saturn and Pisces was the opportunity. But right now, you really got an opportunity to prepare yourself by just considering the new ways, all of the new ways, technologies and things of that nature. Like I would highly recommend y'all learning everything y'all can about these new technologies. So that's AI, how to use it, because a lot of people are afraid of these different things, which I understand, completely understandable. However, being afraid of something does not help you prepare for it. It's coming regardless if you ready or not. So you might as well learn as much as you can to prepare yourself, you know what I'm saying? To be able to equip yourself with the tools to not be left behind, because it's coming regardless if you wanted to or not. And that's a sign of again, we all gotta grow up spiritually, you know what I'm saying? People be so scared of things that are right in front of them, and it's like, look, you could choose that route, or you could just boss up, like approach these different things like, yo, okay, it's time for me to learn enough of it in order to be able to not be, because the thing is, people though, you got to understand there's certain narratives that go around that stump you, that prevent you from adapting properly. Life is going to change, so you need to be able to adapt, willingly adapt. Some people are so resistant, and then again, it's like a collective mind or hive mind where people start to hate on something, and then you start to see people in your life adopt the same feeling towards something that they don't understand, but they just going along with what someone else said because they don't like the fear of not understanding something. People are more willing to just go along with what everybody says about something instead of going out and finding out for themselves. And see that right there, that ignorance, it's going to come back to bite you. It always does. You have to understand these different things. Like, go learn these things for yourself. Because again, yeah, it's not all good, but it's not all bad. But if you know who you are and you looking at these different situations and you learn as much as you can about different things, you'll be able to apply who you are, your uniqueness to these different things that everybody else is going to have to that everybody is going to experience as a shift, right? You're going to be able to approach these things and get different ideas on how you could benefit from it, right, on a unique level and things like that. And so if you commit to that, then you could fuck around and put yourself in a position to where you actually got a leg up, you know what I'm saying, rather than allowing the fear of all these different things stop you in your tracks from ever from just living life. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm passionate about stuff like that because I just feel like, you know, people are so reactionary, and a lot of time it doesn't help that, so again, social media, a lot of it starts to feel like hive mind mentality sometimes, because it's just like a lot of people are sharing information, but not a lot of, there's no real filter for what's quality information and what's not. And what's happening is people is diminishing people critical thinking skills, or just ability to think for themselves about what they feel. They kind of, whatever's on your timeline, if you just adopt those perspectives, then you miss out on the, back to what I was saying about the beauty of struggle. And the, I know it's cliche, it might feel like cliche to say, oh, there's beauty in the struggle, but it's like, no, the struggle is what makes you the struggle. Like when you are faced with your individual challenges, how you figure your way through is usually, that usually becomes your part of who you are. Like as you solve problems, the challenge itself is uncomfortable, but when you sit with those uncomfortable feelings, you get to really understand who you are on a deep level, you on a deep intrinsic level. Any challenge you go through, that you solving that problem, you struggling and wrestling with those different ideas, coming to a conclusion, that a lot of times is what defines who you are, you know, or lends itself to help you define who you are. Because honestly, sometimes you can get stuck in your ways. You know what I'm saying? You obviously can get stuck in your ways, but in my opinion, it's those challenges that really make who you are, um, because it forces you to think. The challenges you face, I feel like it's almost like there's some challenges that are very broad experiences, like we all face, like having to figure out like what you're gonna do for a living, right? So you go through the challenge of that. But the more and more you know who you are, the more specific you get with what you want. And when you want something, you set the intention to go get it. And the more it's like a funnel, the more close to who you are, right? This is you doing things that are directly involving who your identity in a sense, or your alignment. This is where you're starting to get very specific about the different experiences you're going through. So you're it's like you're cultivating a very unique experience, a unique life experience, if y'all get what I'm saying. And when you in that space, it's like there's a different level, you have a more, like going through regular experiences or broad experiences that are challenges that we all go through before things that are just kind of generic challenges, like everyday challenges that we all go through. Going through those going to provide you a certain level of understanding, wisdom, and knowledge. But the more and more and more you get specific on, like, this is my path, this is who I am, and this is my direct goal, then the level of what you get from there, the wisdom you get from that is, very, very, very sharp. Very, what I'm saying, is very potent. The wisdom you get from those things, because that becomes expertise. That becomes you being able to be in your field, or whatever it is that you decided to go into, right? To learn about. That's you being like a top expert in that space. That's you being like, what I'm saying? So you get what I'm saying? Like, hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Anyway, let me go ahead and open up this astrology shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm the king of a tangent. All right, y'all. So we're gonna take a look at this stuff real quick. Put myself in the mix. Boom. Can I make myself bigger? I'll do it like that. All right, cool. So, okay. So right now, this is what we're working with, right? Let's get to the astrology, right? So, like I was talking about Saturn a bit. So Saturn right here. So here's the thing with Saturn. Saturn and Mercury going direct. Of course, so not only are they direct, but they're trined, right? Both at 20 degrees and 25 degrees. So this is like, everybody will tell you this is that extreme clarity, right? Saturn is kind of making you make sense of that dream. It's like, hey, look, a lot of the retrograde what people might not have been able to see, but it probably did come and hit you in ways that hopefully, like I always say, awareness, if you're not in the right space, you might not be aware of the things right in front of you that you actually have access to. Sometimes you could be too cluttered and distracted by other things, and if you allow, see with water energy too, this Pisces specifically, is very important. Like what you believe about yourself and your story is what's going to kind of dominate your perspective. So if you are walking around with a lot of self-doubt and a lot of disbelief in your abilities to achieve certain things, you're not going to be able to see where the stepping stones are, right? That Saturn provides. Saturn is, like I was saying before, it feels like a restriction, a brick wall, but you realize later, if you take a minute to look at that wall, you realize, oh shit, I could scale this. And then as you scale that wall, when you overcome those challenges, that becomes a stepping stone to get you to the next level. So hopefully you've been able to see where those stepping stones were. And all it takes is for you to just not give up. And you don't give up because somewhere deep down inside, even if you have doubts that are conflicting with this, you believe yourself to be capable of doing what it is that you desire. And that desire, you have a much clearer perspective on what it is. You're thinking about it, it's on your mind, you're obsessed with it. So Mercury, on the positive end, on the high octave end, Mercury is able to dissect and analyze what it desires and start to come up with ways in which it could communicate with that thing that it wants, right? And also being able to communicate with yourself and be a little bit more honest and direct about, okay, this is what I want, so how am I going to get it? Um, on the high octave end, it's going to be you manipulating yourself in a way to get you on that track, to get you what you want. On the low octave end, it's going to be you finding other people to manipulate or trying different ways, sneaky ways to get others to do the work for you, right? So be on the be on the lookout for other people who don't got nothing real to offer, but are just trying to size you up and see what they can take from you in order to get you to do what they want you to do. You know what I'm saying? Just be mindful of that. In a healthy situation, there's an equal exchange. Eighth house is still the reciprocity house. It's the reciprocity energy. When done correctly, this is good business. You get a benefit, I get a benefit. You know what I'm saying? We both walk away with some level of, okay, getting what we want. And there might be some level of compromise too still. But regardless, it's an equal exchange. It's a commitment, or eighth house Scorpio energy is like it's like contracts and things like that. So when a contract, it's just business, but in the writing of the contract, you got to make sure you state exactly what you want, and you understand clearly what the other party receives and what they want. So that's the whole point. You're signing contracts at this point, but you want to make sure you sign in the right contracts, and you want to make sure the first contract you sign is with yourself, aka it's you committing to what the greater purpose of your path is, or and again, that's indicative also of the North Node still being in Pisces, right in the middle point. So it's not too, it's deep in the Pisces, and then also another thing to note is this Neptune in Pisces as well, 29 degrees, is still retrograde. So there's still this layer of nostalgia or just connection to, in Neptune right here being in between Pisces and Aries, it's like we feel the need, like whatever dream it is that we working towards, that we got, we can feel the push to it. We can feel its presence. So it's like, and it goes back to what you believe about yourself and what you believe about your capabilities. So it's like, really, it's important for you to sit down and, you know, get serious about what it is you believe. Like get real, like understand that you being able to kind of break out the box. And I'm speaking from a place of just assuming, and I probably shouldn't assume this, but again, I make these videos in a way, even though I'm speaking to the collective, I'm also speaking to myself in a way. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like on some level, right? You may be in a situation where you're trying to break into the you're trying to break into a timeline where you're doing more things that are in alignment with who you are. And you have to believe that you're capable of doing that. You have to also understand what it is that you're trying to get to. But ultimately, whatever it is that you're trying to get to, you have to believe and trust yourself to be able to do that. And it might not feel like that. Like right now, this time period for me, it feels like collectively we're trying to all readjust our timelines to get on a track that feels the best to us. And this is not trying to say that we all trying to find the easy route, although some people are just trying to find the easiest way to get things done, or just the easy, they're trying to find the easy way through. This is not necessarily that I'm talking about. I'm speaking on the timeline shift, and you recognizing that, okay, I'm trying to shift my timeline to be able to experience more things that are I feel connected to, more things that are in alignment with me, and being willing to do the work do the work that are aligned with those things. Because it's like it's going to be work regardless, but I'd rather do work that is in alignment with me than do hard work that's not. Do hard work that feel like I'm just doing busy work, or trying to build somebody else's legacy, or trying to help somebody else get rich. I'm trying to do things in alignment with me so that my people, my family, my tribe, my community can benefit from me being properly aligned and being with other people who share that same sentiment in whatever respective areas of life in the world, and in their career and craft that they are in, so we can all kind of be in alignment and create some kind of, beautiful constellation formation. Um, so, again, and then that's even that in the sense of trying to do that to create a system that will be like a different system than the system we see burning down at the current moment. Because that's another reality as well that we're facing. We're facing the fact that, hey, reality in and of itself, whatever it is that people got going on, the way society been ran, that shit deteriorate, that shit falling right before our eyes, and it's like every day we come out there's a new something new is revealed to show how, we either being poisoned, we being lied to, or we're being manipulated as a people, what I'm saying? So it's many different things at play. Before I move on from Saturn, though, I want to finish up my point about systems in your life. So you have to build the systems that support whatever your goal and dream is. So in Saturn and Pisces, right, being that that's where Saturn is, we have to kind of understand our systems relating to what, like, you could look at whatever house you have Pisces in. Wherever house you have Pisces in, that's where you probably primarily your dreams are at, right? That's where kind of like your underlying dreams, like you might have other goals and things like that in life, but Pisces represents that space in which you need to understand, like it's almost like that space that, yeah, it's it's the space where on a subconscious level, the things that you want are kind of residing, like the things that you dream about, right? You could have other dreams relating, like you could have a dream of being a musician, but if you got Pisces in the third house, it's on some level you dream about almost like a certain level of familiarity, or a certain level of being close in proximity to, or it's like I'm getting tongue tied and stuff, but it's Pisces is where, I'm not going to say that's where your dreams are at, but that's where subconscious things lie that will help you either get to your dream or take you away from your dream, right? This is where your belief system is built and resides. So it could be you want to be a musician, or you dream about going to a different country. But if you got, depending on where you got Pisces at, that's where your belief system lies. And you either going to have beliefs that expand and propel you to that space, or you're going to have beliefs that drag you down and make it harder to do those things that you want to do, whatever it is, because of your level of doubt, self-doubt and things like that. So basically, Saturn and Pisces to me speaks to create systems to help you get through that self-doubt, to help alleviate that doubt from you, so that you can have more of an expanded uh, so you can expand basically, create systems that help you get through some of that self-doubt. So this could be different ways, these could be physical things you do, or these could be mental things you do that help you get to a clear space in which you can continue to go through, that you can basically build up your belief in yourself. That's where our systems got to be at for the most part, like just on a collective level. And depending on what house you have, that'll give you the idea of what flavor, like how to basically what flavor to approach the building of those systems. So, I'm not gonna go through all the houses in this video, but that's where that clarity is kind of come from. That's where that clarity can be built. Mercury giving you the understanding of what it is on a specific level that you want. Saturn and Pisces giving you the ability to start to create systems to help believe in yourself, to believe that that thing is capable to reach that goal. But again, just because it's a trine doesn't mean it's going to be all happy go lucky. This could very well be also the opposite, where you start to see now it might feel negative. This is another possibility. It might feel negative, but it's truly telling you something that you need to know. Meaning, if you have been doing something for long enough, you realize, man, this shit just not working. Isn't Saturn in Mercury's trine might just be telling you to pivot on that idea or that dream, not necessarily give up. But if something's just truly not working, then you might need to pivot in order to get a better, to do you might need to pivot. You might just need to pivot and do something else that might be related to that thing or similar skill set, but you again it's giving you that clarity to be like, hey, it might be time to go ahead and switch things up because that way you're trying to approach that goal, that dream is not working. So we need to find a different way, a different route around. Now, what's interesting is currently we got the moon, right? So the new moon, I mean the full moon is coming up. So at this point portion, we came out the square. So when the moon was in Pisces, that should have gave you pretty much like the insight on saying, okay, I need to adjust this in order to get to where I want to go, in order to manifest the thing I want to manifest. The moon passing through Pisces should have gave you that insight, that hint. And now the moon in Aries is kind of requesting you to fight for that, to fight, to not just sit around and let things be, but to actually put in work and fight for what it is that you want. So if it's a dream that you're trying to get to, if it's anything to that nature, you need to commit to the fight to do that. And this fight is really more so internally. This is not external, like, or it can be. So in some people cases, it can be external, where you got to turn up on somebody who might be in your space, who's making it difficult for you to believe in what you believe in and get to what you're trying to expand into. So you might have to do a little fighting. This is a triangle with the sun. You might have to do a little fighting, right? And you might misunderstand what you analyzing at the moment. But and then it's going to be a little bit of a challenge when it comes to your experiences with Jupiter and Cancer. It's also going to be, but yeah, it's it's making a certain alignment with this, but being that it's in Taurus still, it's almost like by the time I think the closer it gets here, well, yeah, it's not making no real direct line alignment with Uranus, but Uranus is the planet of individuality, and we trying to create somewhat of a stability off of that individuality, right? The more you know yourself and can lean into your strengths, your individual strengths and values and things of that nature, that's the stronger you'll be able to basically create a platform for uh this is honestly Uranus and Taurus is why personal brands are becoming such a big thing, because it's like you're creating value off of your individuality, right? So in a lot of ways, just off principle, this energy aligns with the moon in Aries, because that's the thing. Right now, we do have to fight. We have to fight for what it is that we want to kind of create in this new world, this new system. And what you're going to see is a lot of people who want to give up right now and just go along with whatever's happening. There's going to be a lot of people who get distracted, but this is why I'm saying, like, we have to stay focused. We have to stay focused. You know what I'm saying? Word to Dr. Umar. Stay focused, my brother. Stay focused. You know what I'm saying? We have to stay focused at the minute because at the moment because with everything going on, like it feels like a bunch of chaos is going on. And you have to understand, like learn how to be okay with a little bit of chaos. Like the chaos is opportunity for you to create structure. Those who stand up and initiate that structure are the ones who are going to reap the benefits. Those who allow the chaos to keep them distracted and allow it to throw them off their game are going to be the first ones who get taken out their spot or whatever it is that they was going down as a path. They're going to get knocked off that path and forced to, be put in a situation in which they got to do what other people are doing. They have to help build other people empires or help build other people legacy or help run other people business because they didn't know how to focus their energy and direct it into something that they wanted to build, so they didn't stay consistent on anything long enough to create that situation for themselves. You got to understand at the end of the day everything come back to you, as in it's your as in accountability. Unfortunately, the world doesn't work in a way where you could just wake up, be a good person, have a good heart, and smile and be kind to everyone, and then you get what you want. No, on some like being kindness is important, right? How you treat people is important, but you have to be equally a dog. Like you have to be equally uh diabolical in the sense of like for what it is that you trying to build. You have to be equally serious and equally cold and equally a soldier, a warrior for what it is that you are trying to manifest and build, because nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to protect you in the ways that you need to protect yourself. Yeah, other people could care for you and extend themselves to you and be like, oh yeah, I got you and all that. But everybody going through their own shit. So there will come a time in which that individual, that other, whatever it is that you're getting support from, might not be able to come to your aid. And a lot of people start to get bitter when that happens, not understanding that that was a moment you had to stand up for yourself. And if you was already taking care of yourself, not only would you be you understanding to other people, like you would be in a better position all around. Because when you get too comfortable with everybody else fighting your battles, you start to resent the people who might not be able to show up for certain battles that was specific for you to fight. And you become dependent. This the reason a lot of people get mad at their parents and stuff and end up wasting their whole life blaming their parents for some shit that it was like, hey, look, dog, like at a certain level, at a certain age, you needed to start standing up for yourself. And people, again, that trauma, it transfers. People start blaming that on all their partners. Now they wonder why they can't be in no stable situation or relationship. It's because you moving in a way that's not like you're not, how do I put this? You not standing up for yourself. And you could try to shift the blame on everybody else, but it's like, man, that's your cross to bear, you know? Unfortunately, people get fed stories that make them comfortable with lying to themselves. And it's like, again, a lot of times these religions, they give you stories that make people real comfortable lying to themselves and not taking accountability for their own life. Not everybody that might be in a religion or any kind of belief system or indoctrination. It might maybe not everybody, because it's levels. Some people understand enough about reality and their own spirit to be able to balance it to where it's not so much of a problem. But a lot of people who just take the default operating system of whatever worldview they're given, these are the first people who are complaining, who want to blame everybody else and create kind of like distress stories, sob stories. They want everybody to feel sorry for them. They want everything for free. They want everything easy. Man, fuck those people, man. Fuck if you know, I know y'all know people in y'all life who operate like that. And I'm telling you right now, if you care about your life, please get the fuck away from them or create situations of distance in which, yeah, they might be your family members. So you don't necessarily want to just cut them all off on some like cold shit, but create distance. Hey, I can't fuck with y'all all day, all night. If you call my phone, it's only a select amount of time I got to give to you. But after that, click, you're gonna have to find somebody else to kick that story to, big dog, because life is too precious to be wasting time. And unfortunately, we are birthed into situations in which we have to be our own parents. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got to kind of low key be their own parent because the way the world is situated, it might be your closest family member that ends up getting brainwashed by these different things given, you know what I'm saying, that your closest friend, your closest family member getting brainwashed because it's certain ways this world works that is designed to basically weed out who the strong are and pacify all the weak spirits. You got to understand, like that's why society is operating the way it is. It's a system specifically designed to break those who cannot handle it, to pacify those who can handle it, but don't have enough of the individual connection to their individuality and connection to their spirit to make something different happen. And those who are strong enough to do it, y'all, those are the ones who end up doing it. But sometimes it feels lonely. Sometimes you feel isolated and you feel like, damn, like how am I going to do this? Again, you have to, and this is where community comes in and why community is so important. And I really do. Later this week, I'm gonna make a video kind of diving into some of this generational shit because these generational planets, man, I'm telling you, we got to pay attention. Pluto and Uranus. Look at look at this. Earth air cusp, like that's powerful energy, and communication. Structure and communication. We got two outer planets transitioning from a earth sign to an air sign, from cardinal earth to fixed air, from mutable air, no, from fixed earth to mutable air. That's interesting. I want to dive more into that, but that's interesting. You know what I'm saying? That's very interesting to me. And then we got this right here in the middle going from, basically it's a trine. It's a trine on two ways. A two-way trine. Neptune moving into Aries. You know what I'm saying? So it's water and fire, mutable water to cardinal fire. It's very interesting. I want to dive into that more. But anyway, I'm about to wrap this up. So, and this is just an energy update. So I'm gonna go in again later on with yeah, yeah. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna make another video kind of getting more into different alignments or maybe diving into specific ones. But for the most part, let's talk about this. So we got I want to talk a little bit about this second deacon of Sagittarius. So second deacon of Sagittarius, like I was saying before about the moon in Aries, the second deacon in Sagittarius, right? So for those who don't know, deacons start out basically they travel throughout the element of whatever sign it's in, right? So at 10 degrees, we enter the second deacon, which will pass us on to the second element, second sign in the same element as Sag, since we in Sag season, right? Thought I had to sneeze. That's going to give us the influence of Aries, right? Which is ruled by Mars. Mars itself is in Sagittarius. So this is the part of Sag where we have to be the warrior. We have to equip our bow and arrow, you know what I'm saying? You have to take whatever it is, weapon that you have mentally, and we have to start to fight. We have to fight for where it is that we want to expand to. So the expansion that you're going through at the moment, the solution to it, what's going to help you get through is your passion, right? Is your passion. Now, again, Lilith is right here in between the two. So there is a lot of fear of embarrassment. Please fight through the embarrassment or what you think is embarrassment. Because I promise and I guarantee whatever you think is embarrassing about you trying to expand into who you truly are is it's not worth you giving up on that for the sake of trying to be looked at as somebody who it's not worth giving up your expansion into who you are for what you're afraid of. I promise you, and you will regret it if you don't take this time to fight for what it is that you want to expand into. You will regret it. So at every chance you get, when you feel those feelings of, man, I don't know how they're gonna look at this, or I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this. I don't know where the validation is gonna come from. If you don't feel like people are paying attention to what you're doing, especially in now times, because right now like I was saying about the chaos going on in the world, this is a prime opportunity for you to create something new, to dive into the world and actually push yourself into this open space. It's open season right now. Like it's so much open opportunity right now for you to stand up and be like, hey y'all, I got something brand new that came from my mind that I know the world could use if you really do have something of value. If you don't, please find somebody to support that aligns enough with you that you say, hey, you know what? Whatever that dude doing or whatever that girl got going on over there, I'm gonna go ahead and support them in some kind of way. And you know what I'm saying? Reach out, especially if you feel like you have something to offer them, offer as far as a help or a benefit. Go ahead, reach out. I would recommend to reach out, especially if you actually want to be um, impactful in some kind of way, right? But also for the people who do have that talent, be mindful and discerning about who you allowing in your space to know what it is that you got going on. I would just be mindful of that. Remember, Mercury is still in Scorpio, so you don't want to just give it all up. You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure you being mindful about who you talking to and for what. Because there's a lot of leeches that might be around. So just be mindful of that. But for the most part, again, we have to fight for that expansion. And if you're not ready to fight, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to tell you that. Look, when it comes to war, there's two ways you can go: offensive or defensive. So if you feel like you ain't got the right mentality for the offense, go ahead and get into defense mode and fight to protect whatever your passions are. You might not be the type of your personality type might not be the type to go out and be on the offense. So you could get strategic with the defense. You know what I'm saying? How you go to war is up to you. I'm just letting you know that it's war time because of this second deacon, the moon in Aries reminding you of that. The moon moves fast. So today or yesterday and today, you're being reminded of your strengths and what you want to fight for, what's worth fighting for. um and learn from your mistakes of when you didn't stand up and fight for shit. Learn about what that got you. Also pay attention. So this Lilith in Sagittarius, this got everybody afraid to expand. Y'all afraid to expand. Y'all afraid to put your morality to the test, right? Or to change up your morality for the sake of what you, again, what you, when you travel, you learn different perspectives. And so that might challenge what you thought was right and wrong. Be willing to let that go. Understand too that what you fighting for has it's aligned with it has it has Juno right there, which is the asteroid of longevity. So basically understand that the more connected you are to your true passions, which you should have been based upon what we learned from Scorpio season, being aligned to your true passions, this is where your longevity is. So this is what I mean by a lot of people can create regrets, deep regrets that will come back to bite them if they allow this fear to get where if they allow this fear to overtake them and prevent them from expanding. So please don't be a victim to your own fear or fear being projected onto you. This is another aspect of Lilith being in Sagittarius. People projecting fear onto your plans and goals to expand. So you don't have to aggress. You don't have to fight them or be aggressive and rude to them, but just make sure you know that people who love you and care for you might be projecting a fear onto you because you're going down a path that they don't quite understand. So you can kind of let that be what it is. Now, if they're trying to prevent you from that, okay, yeah, go to war. But if they're not really harming you, they just throwing their 2 cents. Like again, like to make this relatable in actuality in life, you might have a family. Your mom might be like, "Yo, I don't want you to travel because it's she's scared. She watching the news. I don't want you to travel over here because you might get hurt. You gonna have to hold mama hand, tell her, hey, look, sorry, but I have to do this and do your shit. Loved one, you know what I'm saying? If you even in to the point where because you got Venus now, Venus and Sagittarius, this is a thing too. With Venus and Sagittarius, if you in any kind of relationship, you and your partner need to be on the same page as far as where y'all going. Venus through Scorpio should have deepened the connection. Now, Venus in Sagittarius, you either got a Bonnie and Clyde situation where you and your partner is locked in, and wherever you go, she follow, or vice versa. You know, y'all thick as thieves. Wherever you go, she follow. Or and the vice versa of that too is wherever he go, he's considering your comfort, right? Because the masculine and feminine. Masculine on the end of where you going, she following because she supports you. But on the flip side, for the feminine, wherever he go, he's considering your comfort. So and he's providing the situation and protecting within that. So it's two ways. That should be it's either that vibe or somebody finna get left behind. Because this is the part where it's like we on a mission. So if y'all not on the same page and where y'all going, so one or the other is going to start to get tired of that and leave, or it could be a situation where if you're not actively going and trying to expand, but your partner is, then again another situation where you get left behind, or just go separate ways, because this is regardless, relationships are going through an expansion. So you either prepare for that expansion because y'all got real close and connected and intimate during Scorpio, or you'll start to just see y'all drift away because if you were to stay, it would be a cage. It would be something that isn't actually fruitful or nurturing you, right? And again, Venus is going to have its own tango with Lilith, which will probably be a decision point with Venus, and then also Juno. So a lot of very, almost like a spiritual marriage happening this Venus transit through Sagittarius. Yeah, it's like commitment energy. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna go through the fear. So a lot of tension could build up right there, and then it's gonna end with facing a commitment. So this is a different kind of sad season. This is not about being all loose and flying around everywhere. This is about being very intentional about where you're trying to expand and learning what you can in that area that you want to expand in. You're going to have to learn something. You're going to have to, learn something. And those things are going to give you the proper tools to be able to build in Capricorn. But and you're going to need it because Capricorn season is going to be opposite this Jupiter, which Jupiter is not so aggressive. However, it is just going to make the experience itself uncomfortable. So, this is preparation for that. But you only going to get the benefits of the balance if you put in the work. And a lot of times in Sagittarius season, people don't want to do the work or they don't recognize the work as work. But anyway, um, what else? That's kind of like the bulk of it. Um, what I'm gonna do is because I got to get ready for work. What I'm gonna do is um, I'm going to make there's a couple of different videos I want to do. I might make shorter videos, kind of going specifically on some of these other transits, but I just wanted to go ahead and make an energy update for everybody so that y'all kind of know what time it is this week. This week needs to be more so focused on. It's going to start off with needing to fight, and then we got to stabilize what it is that we're expanding in with the moon going into Taurus. But then we got the full moon near the end of the week, and this full moon, like I said before, it's going to be a situation where you want to be satisfied on the communication of what it is that you. Oh shit! Hold on, where that? Oh yeah, 5 o'clock. All right, you want to be. You want to be. It's going to be a full moon. Being satisfied with the information that you have on the thing that you're trying to expand on, right? So that's going to be a video too. I'll make a full moon video and we'll talk about the full moon through the next new moon because that's the other phase. Every I like to break these things down through moon phases. So where the moons, we have it's basically new moon to new moon. The full moon is really like the half point, um, where we come into full awareness. But then we have the release of that information and things of that nature. The fall and the winter. Um,
of the moon cycle. But anyway, I'm just talking out loud or thinking out loud. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to give y'all a quick energy update for y'all to understand what's kind of going on and how to approach these different changes going on at the moment. So hopefully this was helpful. Thank y'all so much for the support. Go ahead, like, subscribe, leave a comment if you can. And let's just keep this thing going and share this with somebody who's into astrology who can use the help. Um, yeah, so I think that's it for the most part. I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here and I'll catch y'all on the next one. All right. Peace.